Welcome to another day with another album, and today we have Scary Kids Scaring Kids, self-titled, because, yeah, this band actually doesn't have a lot of albums because I think the frontman passed away, I think, maybe. I'll have to go check my facts, but I think that's what happened, so unfortunately, this band only really has like 2 or 3 albums, which is a shame. But we're back to emo territory. In case you don't know the band, I mean, come on, with a name like this, you should already fucking like know what we're into, because obviously, fucking dramatic, edgy, angst teen name, obviously. But yeah, with that being said, while the band unfortunately didn't actually put out that much stuff as a result of a tragic event. What did happen, however, is the fact that the albums that they put out were pretty decent and they were in a ascending trajectory. This is, I think, the second album they put out, and it's a pretty good one. I mean, it's a self-titled again, and honestly, through a lot of these songs, you can see that these were gonna be one of those bands like, 3 Days Grace, for example, right? Or maybe Breaking Benjamin, like bands that are like, nowadays are insanely huge, right? In the, I guess, emo space, emo rock space. Because, yeah, this band is just that fucking good, I think. And I don't know what's up with me just reviewing good bands, I guess. But yeah, this album, as far as this album goes, first of all, I always find it interesting when albums have way too many songs. Like, it never usually, like, goes down well. This album has 15 songs, and I'm gonna be completely honest, there's like 3 or 4 here that are like fillers, basically, like actual, like, they're basically like segues, into other songs. And yeah, I just didn't really like enjoy those too much. Again, there's only like 2 or 3 or whatever, but outside of those, there's a lot of tracks here, and they're all bangers, I think. Like, pretty much the consistency of this album when it comes to how good the songs are is actually quite impressive, because like, you don't have any song that stands out, you know what I mean? Like, there isn't any song that is like, holy shit, this is the song, you know what I mean? Like, every song is kind of the same, but the songs are just equally good. There's a certain consistency of quality here, I found this band because of the song Degenerates, which is just like the album reviewed like 2 days ago from Brand New. It's again a very like dramatic start to the album. I think, I don't know why, like, albums back then, I guess especially the emo one, just started like really dramatic with like the most in your face song. I guess it's to cause an impression, which it does, right? But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good song. I had to go and listen to more, and pretty much a lot of other songs on this album I have on repeat. Songs like Star-Crossed, Set Sail, Goes Without Saying, Blood Runs Forever, pretty good songs that I had on repeat pretty much when I heard the album. And ever since then, and even now when I re-listen to it, and I was like, okay, yeah, this song's really good. And I don't know, like, I think there's a perfect blend of everything. I don't know how to explain it. It's like, between the lyrics and the soundtrack, it's like, it's not just the expected simple emo. I think like there's a bit more depthness to, like, I feel that this is more like theatrical emo. This is more My Chemical Romance than it is 3 Days Grace. You know what I mean? Like, it's more on that registry of being more, I guess, theatrical to a certain degree than it is on it being heavy, and I actually really like that, because I think that a lot of the songs actually do much better as a result of it, especially instrumentally. It does sound just more interesting than maybe some other songs. Like, I've talked about 1X before from 3 Days Grace. As much as I love that album, a lot of the instrumentals are to a certain degree kind of simple, and I don't mind it because the songs are good, they're catchy, but yeah, and here they're a bit more, again, they're a bit more detailed and everything. By far, though, I think that my favorite song in the album is Goes Without Saying. I think yesterday I talked about The Funeral Portrait from Opeth. I think this song is like the emo version of that song, where it's like, it starts very acoustic, and then just like eats you all of a sudden with guitars like riffing, like with the riff of the guitars, just in your face. I find it interesting that happened. But yeah, basically it's like half of an acoustic song, half of an emo song. It works surprisingly well, and the song does a good job at slowly building up until finally that the electric guitars enter, right? So it's not like, oh yeah, acoustic, and then all of a sudden just have the guitars because it's an emo song. So overall, there's that going for it. Another thing, however, that and this is a thing that I think it's against the album. I like a certain consistency when it comes to my albums, and I think that okay, the album started really strong. Like there's a couple of songs at the beginning that start really strong, but then like there's some songs that just don't feel as good towards I guess the theme of the album. You know what I mean? Because like if you start the album with a song like Degenerates, that's cool. Like there's a certain pretty much like the brand new album I reviewed. It sounds like you have this angst, but then it slowly mellows out as well in some songs, and that's really cool. I mean, that's the bread and butter of emo, basically. But then you have songs that they're fun to listen to, don't get me wrong, but they don't gel very well with the album. Like, for example, a song like Faces, right? Very fun song, really cool song, very addictive. But it doesn't fit that registry of Degenerates or, Blood Runs Forever or Goes Without Saying, right? Like, it's a good song, but it doesn't fit the album, you know what I mean? And it's the same thing with the Snake Devil, for example, is another song. I was listening to it and I was like, okay, yeah, it's a fun song, don't get me wrong, but like, it just doesn't have the same, like, registry as the rest of the songs, like instrumentally speaking, obviously, it sounds the same, but like the vibe it gives you is completely different, because it sounds much more like a bit fun than angst and dramatic, so I do think that as good as some of the songs here are, I do think that some songs do take you away from that, like dramatic emotion that the album creates on you, which is why I probably tend to gravitate to, the more dramatic angst songs, like Degenerates, The Deep End is another one, than necessarily gravitating towards Faces or whatever, right? Because like if you listen to a lot of the songs and you take you take mostly I can't remember all of them, it's mostly Faces, Snake Devil, and there was another one, I don't remember the name, but there was another one. If you take like those out, and if you obviously don't count, I guess, the less than 2 minute songs, because those are more like segues than they are songs necessarily, the album is incredibly fucking solid, honestly. Like, if this album had been like 10 songs, and it's just like that songs sort of like, Degenerates and fucking Set Sail, Starcrossed and whatnot, like those dramatic, theatrical, teen angst type thing, I think this album would have been one of the best just emo albums that I've ever heard. Unfortunately, you do have what it sounds like the filler to me, and unfortunately, again, so that song Faces, like, I know that song because it was in the credits section of some RuneScape music video. Ironically, I also know Degenerates because of a RuneScape music video, and like, for a long time I didn't even know it was the same band, like, let alone be on the same album, right? So I think that just sort of goes to show the different, I guess, registry, that the different feel that the songs have when it comes to being on this album. So yes, personally, I think that I would take some of the songs out and maybe put again, like, it's not that songs are bad, don't get me wrong, I like the songs, I like Faces, I like Snake Devil, I think they're kind of angst in a silly way, but that's the problem, they're angst in a silly way when the rest of the album is trying to be like this more serious teen angst, type fucking feeling. So it takes me away from the vibe, which as a result are songs that I don't tend to listen to much, comparatively speaking, to the other songs in the album, right? Songs like Holding On, for example, just remember that one. Like I tend to listen to these songs much more than I tend to listen to, those songs like Faces, Snake Devil, you get the point. And again, I think it's exactly because those do take me away more from that teen angst vibe than, maybe if the album was all more, because I'm not against theatrical emo albums type thing that are more like on the silly side. They still have angst, but they're more on the silly side. I think that the new 3 Days Grace song is a good example of that. It is technically an emo rock song, at least in the instrumental, I guess, but it's more on the silly side, and it's more like on a rocker, or I guess, can you even call it like that rock, I guess, but it feels more on that registry, right? And that's kind of what I mean, is that if the album was entirely like that, these songs would have been really good. But the entire album, especially because the album opens with the Generates, Holding On, and Deep End. And then it just goes into Faces, and it completely, at least to me, it kind of took me out of the album. And that's kind of a bit of a shame, because, again, like the song itself is really good. In the context of the album, I don't enjoy it too much. But yeah, overall, I think that I would probably give this a honestly solid 8 out of 10. Again, I think it could have been better, especially without some of the songs, and especially with some of, the album being a bit more trimmed, because 15 songs is quite a bit. But yeah, outside of that, the songs that are there are pretty good, and if you do like emo, it's an album that I actually recommend a lot. And then just like check the songs that you enjoy. Pretty much, if you like the genre, like if you like the first 3 songs, I would say you're gonna like the vast majority of the album, because a lot of the songs have that teen angst, kind of semi-serious tone to them, where it's like, oh my god, my life is ending type thing, right? So yeah, it's an 8 out of 10 for me, and I'll see you in the next video tomorrow.